Hey, what up, it's your boy Nick. So today I wanted to react to this video by Arenthio, who put out a video titled How Popular Furries Exploit Little Kids. Definitely an interesting title and I had to check it out. Throughout this, I will be playing clips of his video, the entire thing just being shy of 7 minutes, but I highly do recommend going, take a short watch for yourself, tackle the content, formulate your own opinions, and then come back and see what I have to say on it. His video, of course, has been clipped for brevity, and I don't feel comfortable playing someone's entire video just to react to it, but I will be reacting to everything in its full context. Please tell me if I do change your mind. Tell me if my thoughts differ, because I always do enjoy a good and respectable conversation. But without further ado, let's get into it.
I'm going to address this whole cameo situation and all these new social media sites that have been becoming more popular during the pandemic. And yeah, more clownery coming out of the woodworks. And by this, I mean these constant reminders that some people in the community are inferior to others at a fundamental level. And if you guys are new to this situation, Cameo is basically a website where you sell 10 to 20 second clips, short clips basically, of yourself, which the price points usually depend on how popular you are. Like, the time of one popular person is worth maybe $30 as opposed to one that's worth $5, right? But for you or I, our time isn't worth anything.
Alright, so first let's get into addressing his main point. The idea that big creators' time and products are inherently worth more value than who he depicts as himself and others like him, that referring to people with small followings. I want to address this as amicably as possible, but the argument to me seems like a nothing burger. It really does.
But like, basically what you can do is you can pay your favorite content creator or celebrity or whoever's on the platform to send you a message saying something, wishing you a happy birthday, wishing you a good anniversary, a good wedding, a good funeral. If you really want that, you can pay for people to send you this message. Someone tweeted out, "Cannot wait to become a popular so I can charge you lot, basically $10 for a happy birthday message." Is condescending the right word to use here? When we're looking down on a group of people that really are just doing this thing and offering a product, which again, it's not saturating the market, it's not replacing anyone else trying to use this. This is a very niche sort of subcategory on camp. Could be seen as like a whole stemming of narcissism in the furry fandom. These are the same people to like, they're like, oh yeah, you know, use OnlyFans, you know, if you gotta make ends meet, you gotta live. I encourage you to use that. Though we're defending that, putting this on blast, kind of hypocritical, just a little bit.
Say there's a content creator that you've watched and valued for years. Their content potentially brought you into the fandom. Would you not pay more for someone regardless of their size that has that kind of personal impact on you?
Some people in the community have been perpetuating this idea that everyone's supposedly equal and valid. Sounds all fine and dandy, right? No, actually, it's more complicated than that. I guess a good analogy of this would be a game of Monopoly, right? But we'll be playing this game with a little twist. I start with all the properties and I get all the money. But we're still equal because I'm a person at the end of the day. And since you and I are both people, we must be equal. So yeah, we don't have to do anything because everything's fair. This sounds absurd, but this is the line of thinking that a lot of people in the furry community have.
The conversation of how much things are worth is definitely a subjective uphill battle, right? In terms of his idea of like monopoly, it's important to address the fact that literally everyone starts at level 1. You choose to decide what your content will be about, how you present yourself, the audio levels. You choose all of those things. Some people grow faster than others and some never grow at all. The idea that some people just jump into this game of Monopoly with all the pieces is not at all the case, unless you have some friends in really high places. But there are honestly a million factors. How often do you upload? The quality, personality, relatability, aesthetic, proper tagging, networking, and in a lot of cases, luck. I really don't think that we should undermine the amount of work it takes to grow a channel or to maintain it. And as an audience, we have to recognize, even if someone is super successful, it's not always going to be their passion.
Over the last 2 years, there's definitely been times that I've questioned how much I want to do this. Let me just start by saying I love the furry fandom. I love making furry content for everyone. And I think one of the things that I've been struggling with since making this channel is really that separation between my personal life and my public life. How much should I open up? Should I share my whole life? Should I share any of my life? And the general conclusion I've come to across 2019 was that I largely want to be an entertainer. I want to put smiles on people's faces, and I want my life, like ogres and onions, to have layers. For me to have passions and aspects of my life that aren't shared on camera.
Sometimes it really is just work. You are allowed to literally see your art, anything that you make, as just being work. You don't have to even be passionate about it. Some people just see YouTube as a 9 to 5. Maybe they get complacent over time. Maybe it was their passion and they're no longer passionate about it. At the heart of it, you and I both made the choice to sit down and record, chose how long we put into editing, what thumbnails are going to look like. Everyone has this choice. No one starts with all the pieces.
Follower count is just a number, and it doesn't matter if you have 10 followers or 10,000 followers.
Now, I clipped this part because this is pretty much the whole argument in a nutshell, where people genuinely think that just because you have a higher number of followers, that you're being disingenuous when you say, yeah, follower count's just a number to me. Listen, you are allowed to be excited to watch subs grow. I do not think it is in any way fair to shit on those who do in fact get excited or value things like sub counts, like comments, engagement, and monetary value as it rises. I think this is such a completely unfair argument to make, because as a content creator, an artist, or in any profession, you are allowed to enjoy seeing the numeric representation of your hard work paid off. You are allowed to value high view counts and more subs that reflect the effort that you put into it, or even something you just put out with no other reason than you could. You're allowed to be happy about that. Why does this matter so much? I think it's really important to reiterate to the audience, you are allowed to look at things from a purely monetary or even clout-driven perspective. You are allowed to view it as nothing more than a hobby. You're allowed to literally not give a shit about any of the content you have and just magically just blow up overnight and still not view it as anything more than that. Some people are money motivated and genuinely want to see numbers increase to show that this can be a sustainable job for them. That's completely fine if you want to view this as a job. Some people just enjoy the validation and building a community to engage with them on topics that they're interested about. Do not devalue the motives and perceptions of others just because they don't match your views of success.
And I would argue that this entire situation telegraphed to the majority of people that they're worthless. Like, no one's a person in this community. They are a brand that's represented by the consumer goods that they own and their status in the community. And some brands are more valuable than others. In fact, it implies that we are privileged to meet popular people and we owe them something. Like, why in the world do people say,
Persons don't matter, it's what's inside that counts.
and why do popular furries say, follower count doesn't matter, it's personality that counts? Literally everyone knows that having these things opens doors, and not having it does the opposite.
I understand that there is definitely this argument going around of like, people don't like me, they just like my fursuit. That is a completely valid argument, but that is not the point of the video, so I will not be addressing that part specifically. The idea is, and also, did he just imply that he's upset that having a personality opens doors? It kind of does. It's kind of like a big part of like content creation. So I'm just gonna like leave that there. But just remember, having a personality is in fact important when it comes to content creation. Please don't let these words mix you up. Okay. So the problem that I have with this notion is the very problem that smaller creators voice in this regard is the very thing a lot of them perpetuate. The idea that there is a separation between creators of a certain size by reinforcing it. For instance, my community has always been really awesome, so I really doubt I'd get this comment, but like, let's just pretend that somebody says, hey, Nick, you have over 10,000 followers. By commenting on this user that has less than 1,000, you are punching down. That I'm picking on the little guy. This is mostly an argument that you'll hear from the person who's being criticized, even if they're getting a response from the person that is the topic of their video. They'll still say, hey, why are you talking about me? I talked about you, but you're punching down. What the fuck? I'm not even important enough for you to talk about, and yet here you are. And like, it's like, that is kind of like what I'm kind of getting from a lot of this is like, if I refuse to comment on this video from Arenthio, I would inherently be creating a dissonance between us because of follower count. The reality is, the second you choose to be a content creator, that you put yourself out on a public platform, you offer yourself up to criticism. And I chose to comment on this video specifically because I do want to address his opinion as a peer. Follower counts literally do not matter in this regard specifically, because the number behind him does not change his takes. It doesn't change the video he put out. It doesn't alter the words he said. The only argument you might have there is like, you know, the bigger audience you have, the more yes men you have, and the more you really feel validated in your opinions. That's definitely an argument that could be had. Another instance though where I can say it is valid argument is if my criticism was so actively like lambasting him. Like if I was saying, man, his points are stupid, like everything about him is stupid. Like if I was saying things like that, even if I put some kind of like pointless disclaimer of like, hey guys, don't harass people, it would still kind of intrinsically make the audience kind of against him and might actually lead to harassment. It is in this way that larger creators have to make a conscious effort to be fair and just, especially when addressing smaller creators, for the sake that an audience perception will not always align with creator values. Does that make sense? Maybe.
And if they can't achieve these unachievable standards, they're going to be alienated. Take it from one of my friends that live in South Korea. The country is notorious for having high depression rates and high rates of people checking out of life early. I've actually been there, so I can confirm the fact that the requirements for social acceptance is extremely high. It's in fact so bad that people have the need to show off their cars or show off some kind of consumer good, and even to the degree that it would be socially unacceptable in a hyper-consumer society like ours. And this applies to basically everything, like wealth, status, looks, and whatnot.
Okay. I know that clip was a lot. I know that clip was a lot, but I did have to address it. If I'm being completely honest, I feel really uncomfortable equating such a serious social disparity within the conversation of furries and how much money or views they are perceived to be worth in the fandom. Comparing the social climate, wage disparities, and class differences that lead to higher self-mortality rate in Korea is completely separated from this conversation and is honestly a bit dismissing of the actual problems that they may be facing. And I would honestly prefer if it was given its own focus and respect that it deserves away from this conversation about fucking furries. You know, like if we actually like focus on like the key points. While his points were fairly linear, it didn't really feel like they were explored or offered any different perspectives. He didn't even address the potentiality that when someone says that they don't care about follower count, that expression could in any way be genuine for anyone over a certain follower size. Followers do not equate to the amount of people who actually do watch your stuff. I know people who have 15,000 followers and average 1,000 views per video. Your content may have at some point been engaging enough for them to follow, but it might not have been engaging enough for them to continue to watch you. So in that way, followers already don't matter. In another way, for me personally, views are fun. Views are fun to watch go up because the thing is, I do put a lot of work into my videos, right? And so seeing the views go up for a video that you really did work hard on, it does make me feel good. It really does, because like I do work really hard on my videos and they do take quite a while to actually produce. So yes, I feel like I'm valid in enjoying the fact that some of my videos do well and feeling kind of disappointed when some don't. Like, you're allowed to feel that way. Oh my God. And finally, like the actual thing I think that matters most to me is comments. Because the thing is, it's one thing for someone to like your video, it's one thing for someone to watch it, but it's another thing for them to be so engaged with your content that they in some way want to give you their opinion on either how you covered it or the actual situation themselves. I really do enjoy comments more than anything else. So it's like, no, followers don't really matter to me. I enjoy the engagement and I enjoy building my own community. Like, why is that such a bad thing? My approach that is, if you feel compelled enough to argue on a point, you should at least try to offer 2 solutions that the audience can easily and consciously enact, and also one that they should avoid. A positive solution would be shouting out smaller creators, making a conscious effort to engage with their content as well as helping others to feel more valued. Or one thing that I really do think that people should try and maybe do more of is, if they have the or ability, tip your artists, honestly. Especially if you feel like they're undervaluing themselves. Conversely though, one attitude I think that the audience should avoid is lambasting other creators or devaluing their perceptions of how they view success. As we discussed earlier, taking a peek at some of his other videos, it hints that there's a fair amount of projection led by self-doubt, causing an attribution of blame towards others, but he certainly seems to have a bias towards popufurs. Usually he just alludes to the general idea that popufurs as a collective is a group to critique as a whole sooner than giving specific creators mention on an individualized critique. If you have problems with the idea of popufurs, please respect people enough to critique them individually sooner than just saying all popufurs are bad, all popufurs do this. One thing I have literally not touched on yet is the title. Given everything that we have explored with this content and this video, not at any point in time did this creator explain that the reasoning that he believes that the perception that creators are valued more, how in any way that means that they're exploiting quote unquote little kids. While I don't think that this title was intended to be, it definitely projects a malicious intent towards the group that he is criticizing in this video, namely popufurs. So I think personally, retitling it along the lines of perceptions of worth by follower count would be much more related to the points he's actually making. Overall, I would like to end this on a point. We have to accept that hard work, personality, and consistency are absolutely driving factors. What niche are you trying to fill? How many people within that niche do you think will actually value your content? But the thing is, honestly, beyond all of that, it really boils down to luck. Right? Right place, right time, right algorithmic actions. The internet is saturated with millions of people just like this guy, just like me, who are trying to make it in whatever niche that they are trying to fill. And instead of being upset about it, boost other creators, do something positive for the community instead of just making this big old kibosh about why you're upset about something that you're claiming has no solutions but has a schmillion solutions. As to everyone, thank you for your patience. I also sell shirts now. They're really rad, and I draw them myself, and they're American made, and they're really rad. Link below. But as always, this has been Nick, and remember,